Hey, I'm Ed.
I'm Ashley, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Ed and Ashley
5-Minute Show. I am here right now with Jo Miller, who did a fabulous session on recession-proofing your career. And so she's now going to talk about one of the steps, and that is creating a personal brand.
Thanks, Ed. So I mentioned in the session yesterday that this is really one of my favorite principles or topics, and it's actually a really integral part of why I'm so happy and passionate in the career that I'm in right now. So it's one of the favorite things that I really love to share with other women. And so it's all about creating your personal brand, which means figuring out what it is that you want your name to be synonymous with and what you want to be known for in your career, and finding that right best fit for you, that perfect niche, and then going ahead and making a name for yourself. And so the best personal brands really come about as the combination of three essential elements. I call it the three essential elements of a personal brand. And so it's a combination of three different things. And the first is knowing what your passions are. So of course, just identifying what are the things that you're so passionate about that when you're doing those things, time just flies by and you lose track of time and you get just so immersed in what you're doing that you're totally in the zone because you just love what you're up to. So that's the first key piece to take a look at. So what are your passions? The second thing to notice is what are your top skills or talents? Meaning what are the things that you're really great at right now or could potentially become great at that are going to give you a unique competitive advantage in the marketplace in your career. And so with most of the women that I speak to, they're familiar with this idea of figuring out what am I passionate about and what are my skills and talents, but sometimes forget the third element that is really the piece that allows you to have a really satisfying and successful and stable career, which is, what is it that your industry or your company or your profession as a whole needs and wants and needs so badly that they're really going to pay you handsomely for. So I'm just going to put a dollar sign there, meaning there's got to be an element here of finding a robust marketplace for that thing that you really want to do. And so finding the best fit niche for yourself in your career and creating your personal brand is this place in the middle where all three conditions overlap, something that you're passionate about, that you're skilled and have a real unique competitive advantage in terms of your talents, but also making sure that there's a really robust marketplace that's going to ensure you that really successful and thriving and satisfying career. And I was speaking to a senior level woman recently, a woman who heads up a multi-million-dollar division of a software company, and she said early on in her career, a mentor gave her this advice, and it was to be famous for something. So figure out what's your claim to fame. And so for her, she was able to recognize a couple core strengths and focus her entire career around just doing those things really well and making a name for herself. And it actually took her from being a new graduate in a consulting firm all the way to being partner, and now being invited across into the technology industry where she now leads a large business unit. So for her, it was all about figuring out what's your claim to fame. And so the best personal brands are a combination of all those three elements, and ideally you should be able to express it in a really short, succinct sentence, so just a compelling statement that sums up your brand. For myself in my career, things really started to take off when I identified that my brand is being the women's leadership coach. So I quit my corporate career and become a corporate escapee and started a coaching business, but pretty soon realised that the people who were really the most outstanding coaches in the executive coaching world had a specific brand or niche that they were focused on. And so I actually hired a coach myself to go through this whole branding exercise. And she got me to come up with a list of 50 different things I could specialise in, and I narrowed the list down to 20 and 10 and then 5. And finally she just said to me, Jo, when you talk about women in leadership, you're just 10 times more excited and passionate than anything else. And so, for me, it was, my passion for women in leadership To be honest, I didn't have the right package of skills and talents when I first started out, but it was something I was willing to build in my career. And then finally, just because of my prior corporate experience as a woman in the corporate workplace, I knew that there had to be a market and a need for those services out there. So that's how I came about to find my brand in my career. And the great thing about really knowing your brand and figuring this out is once you know what it is, it becomes incredibly easy to know what to do next. So decision making becomes easy. You know what opportunities to say yes to, and then which opportunities to diplomatically decline or say no to because they don't align perfectly with that brand that you've created for yourself.